This is the John Wick Part 2. For the first part, please check the link in the description. A few weeks later, the fearless John Wick is at the center of a pursuit. His goal was to retrieve his Ford Mustang from Abram Tarasov. John pursues a motorcycle rider until he flips the bike and steals an invitation card that leads to Abram's location. Tarasov is the sibling of the late Viggo Tarasov. When Abram hears of John's approach, he immediately begins packing up his operation. There's one henchman who trivializes John and brags about being able to take him on his own. He questions Abram, wondering if they're really putting everything on the line for a single car. But Abram reminds him that this isn't any car, it's John Wick's. This is the man who murdered his nephew, brother, and many of his henchmen over a puppy and his car. Abram emphasizes John Wick's focus, dedication, and determination. He reminds him of how John killed 3 men with nothing but a pencil. In the meantime, John has discovered the location of his beloved Ford Mustang and heads straight for Abram's hideout. Tarasov's men pursue him along the way. Unfortunately, his car is hit by his attackers, and another assailant enters the fray, damaging his Mustang. He still manages to start the vehicle and flee, but a lone bike rider pursues him and shoots at him. John must sacrifice one of his doors to stop the rider in his tracks. He returns to his goal and, feeling envious of those ramming his car, begins playing the same game. However, he is unexpectedly knocked out of his vehicle and forced to engage in hand-to-hand combat. As expected, he dispatches his attackers with little difficulty. He finally makes it to Abram's room, and the man is terrified for his life. Interestingly, John spares Abram's life on the condition that he never see him again. Accepting the truce, John retreats and returns to his home, his mission completed. Soon after, John finds himself returning all mementos from his previous life as a hitman to their final resting place in the ground, with the goal of embracing the simple, ordinary existence of a man grieving the loss of his wife. A few days later, Aurelio pays John a visit at his request to repair his battered Ford Mustang. After assessing the damage, Aurelio warns that it will take time to restore the car to its former glory. As dusk approaches, John receives an unexpected visit from Santino D'Antonio, a notorious figure in the criminal underworld. Santino reminds John of their shared history, specifically how he helped him complete an impossible task, allowing him to retire and marry Helen. In exchange for his assistance, John had made a sacred promise known as a marker, represented by a medallion etched with his own blood. Santino has finally come to collect on his debt. Despite these compelling reasons, John declares himself out of the game and retired. Santino does not take the rejection lightly. In response, he launches a devastating assault on John's house, wielding a grenade launcher and setting it on fire. Against all odds, John and his dog survive the vicious attack. John simply stands there, staring at his lost memories as they burn away. Without a place to call home, John seeks refuge at the Continental Hotel in New York City, accompanied by his faithful canine companion. In his desperate situation, he turns to Winston for guidance. Winston, on the other hand, issues a stark reminder: refusing the marker would violate 2 sacred rules of their underworld: no killing on Continental grounds, and the obligation to honor all markers. The D'Antonio family is notorious for their ruthlessness, owing primarily to Santino's father's position on the high table, a council of 12 powerful crime lords who control all Continental hotels worldwide. Faced with this harsh reality, John is forced to reluctantly carry out his commitment. He goes to meet Santino, who immediately cuts to the chase. He assigns John the task of killing his sister, Gianna. You see, Santino craves his sister's upcoming seat at the high table, which their father believes she is more deserving of. John, obligated by his commitment, accepts the mission. Before departing for Rome, John visits his storage unit to gather some essential belongings. He checks into the Continental Hotel's Roman branch, where the manager, Julius, greets him warmly. When Julius jokes that he's in town to target the Pope, John assures him that this is not the case and grants him access to the hotel's facilities. Next, John visits a one-of-a-kind tailor shop that only serves assassins, crafting bulletproof garments to help them with their dangerous work in the criminal underworld. After that, it's time to get his weapons. The shopkeeper, who is already familiar with the legend of John Wick, knows exactly what type of weaponry John will require to complete his mission. However, before John can proceed, he must determine where Gianna is. So he goes to a contact who gives him a blueprint of her location, which will help him navigate the various entrances and exits. As night falls, John, now fully equipped, prepares for the battle that awaits. He infiltrates the celebration of Gianna's elevation to the high table and confronts her in a dressing room. Faced with the inevitability of her death, Gianna decides to meet it on her own terms. As Gianna takes her final breath, John ensures the mission's success by shooting her in the head, fulfilling the marker. With his mission completed, John attempts to leave. However, Cassian, Gianna's bodyguard, notices him and recognizes him immediately. Cassian quickly deduces that John was sent to eliminate Gianna. In the blink of an eye, a full-fledged shootout begins. John immediately leaps into action, rushing through a lively concert while exchanging fire with his attackers. As he escapes the concert chaos, he encounters new adversaries. Undeterred, he kills approximately 6 men before abruptly changing course to navigate through the city's subterranean catacombs. In the twisting tunnels, he meets Ares, Santino's loyal bodyguard, but a surprise awaits him, a double-crossing ambush. However, John is able to shield himself with his armored outfit, knocking off a few assailants in the process. He cleverly uses the labyrinth of catacombs to his advantage, isolating his enemies and dealing with them one-on-one or in smaller groups. In the ensuing carnage, John's remarkable skills and deadly precision are put to use. Every target he zeroes in on is quickly dispatched in an impressive display of ferocity and efficiency. He goes on a furious killing spree, killing 1, 2, 3, and up to 12 men in about 45 seconds. John narrowly escapes the catacombs, but is hit by a car on the street. Cassian emerges from the vehicle and opens fire on John. The two then engage in a high-risk hand-to-hand fight. The fight is a fierce display of strength and skill, with both men exchanging blows, gaining and losing the upper hand. Their intense battle comes to an abrupt halt when they collide in the lobby of the Continental Hotel. Following the hotel's non-negotiable rule of no killing on the premises, John and Cassian end their fight. In an unexpected turn of events, the two adversaries find themselves in a bar. John reveals the motivation for his assassination, but even after learning that Santino orchestrated the situation, Cassian vows to kill John, promising him a quick death. John returns to his room and receives a call from Santino. Santino acknowledges that John may feel personally wronged, and he understands if he is upset. In an ironic twist, Santino places a $7 million bounty on John Wick's head, claiming it as an act of revenge for his sister. As the sun rises on a new day, John prepares to check out of the Continental Hotel in Rome and return to New York City. The large contract immediately attracts the attention of high-profile assassins worldwide. Meanwhile, Santino meets with Winston, who requests a blood oath to ensure that John has fulfilled his commitment and is no longer obligated to Santino. Santino dismissively tells him that there is no need for that, assuming that John will not make it back to New York alive. Winston, on the other hand, warns Santino that he has made a grave mistake, warning him about the consequences of betraying someone like John Wick, a man who should not be taken lightly. Winston claims that Santino has, in the essence, stabbed the devil in the back, forcing John back into the life he had chosen to abandon. Meanwhile, John returns to New York City, where he is met with a hail of bullets from assassins eager to claim the $7 million prize. As he moves through the city, John, a renowned assassin, is constantly attacked, making his return home a deadly game of survival. Killing John Wick, as these aspiring assassins quickly discover, is no easy task. Cassian confronts him as he continues his journey through the subway system. They engage in a silent gunfight among the unaware crowd, using silencers to avoid causing panic. The confrontation turns into a brutal fistfight, with John stabbing Cassian in the aorta, leaving his fate in the balance. This battle seriously injures John, prompting him to seek medical attention. He sees a beggar and offers him a gold coin for help. With the beggar's assistance, he escapes the dangerous situation. With his wounds still aching, John seeks help from the Bowery King, an underground crime boss. John's injuries are treated in this underworld hideaway, which provides some relief, but he requires more than just medical assistance. He asks the Bowery King to use his extensive underground network to find Santino's location. He also requests weapons to help him accomplish his mission. However, the Bowery King is curious. He questions why he should help John. In response, John highlights the dire consequences of Santino obtaining a seat at the high table. The Bowery King would lose power, resources, and control over his underground networks. The prospect of John Wick taking on a member of the high table piques his interest. After considering John's arguments, the Bowery King decides to assist. "Somebody please get this man a gun," he's saying. He hands John a gun loaded with only 7 bullets, one for every million of the bounty, and leads him to an art museum where Santino is hosting a gala. Armed and determined, John infiltrates the museum's gala. The dance floor splits like a sea as the crowd recognizes John and flees in terror. Drawing his pistol, John quickly dispatches 7 of Santino's men, 1 bullet for each. However, he quickly runs out of ammunition and is forced to obtain a weapon from one of his defeated opponents. John relentlessly pursues Santino, killing any of his henchmen who dare to stand in his way. The chase leads him into a mirror maze, a strange room that appears to defy the laws of space and direction. John struggles to find his way through and closes in on Santino. To make matters worse, Santino's security enforcer, Ares, arrives with a team of guards adding to the challenge. Even this does not slow John down. He expertly dispatches Santino's security team one by one. As he finally defeats the last henchman, he clears the way for himself. John eventually comes face to face with Ares. They engage in intense close-range combat, pushing each other to their limits. The battle is brutal, but John eventually prevails, leaving Ares defeated and lifeless. During the chaos, Santino slips away and hides inside the Continental Hotel. John arrives at the Continental shortly after and inquires about Santino's whereabouts. Charon directs him to the hotel's lounge. When John enters the lounge, Winston, the hotel's owner, urgently warns him against taking any rash actions within the Continental's boundaries. Breaking the unbreakable rule of no killing would result in severe consequences. However, John's had enough. Santino's manipulations have ripped his life apart, destroying his home and forcing him back into the violent life he thought he had abandoned. Ignoring Winston's warnings, John kills Santino in one swift move in the lounge room, wreaking havoc on the underworld. With the weight of Santino's death on his shoulders, John rushes out of the Continental. He returns to his old home, finding comfort in the memory of his late wife. He recalls the beautiful moments they shared in their home, which contrasts sharply with the brutality of his current life. The next day, Karen takes John to a park to meet Winston. It is here that John realizes the gravity of his actions. Murdering Santino on Continental grounds violates the rules, and there are consequences. According to the High Table's decree, the bounty on John's life has been doubled and extended globally. As a result, Winston declares John excommunicado, withdrawing all of his rights and access to the underworld's resources. However, Winston gives John a 1-hour head start before his excommunicado status takes effect, a small gesture of professional courtesy. He also gives John a marker, which represents a debt that can be redeemed for future assistance. Suddenly, everyone in the park comes to a halt and stares at him. As they go about their business, John tells Winston that he intends to kill whoever comes his way. Winston acknowledges this by saying, "John, you're going to need it." As John leaves the park with his dog, Winston performs John's excommunicado. The 1-hour countdown starts. Phones start ringing in the park where they were talking, signaling the impending hunt. Determined and relentless, John begins to flee as the film comes to a tense close, leaving his fate uncertain. All right, that's a wrap for today. If you enjoyed the video, hit like. It really helps the channel. Leave a comment with your thoughts and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching and see you next time.